peeps, Shea with O.W.N Health and Strength. Today we're going to do Weird Humans Gut Edition. So we are going to talk about your guts, we're going to talk about poop, so buckle up. We're going to start at the beginning, like the very beginning, when you're forming out of a clump of cells in utero. So you start out as a tube, that tube then turns into your brain, your heart, and your guts. All equally important, all should be respected by the medical field and us alike. So guts are super important. Continuing with that tube mentality, we're going to start at the mouth and then work our way through the guts to the anus. When you smell food and when you put food in your mouth, your body will release saliva, your jaw, your salivary glands will release saliva to mix with the food. It's super important that you chew your food really well because as the food and saliva mix, that's going to help your digestive system. So it's like the first line of defense is up here. You got to chew very, very well to give your body a good chance of absorbing the nutrients out of the food that you're eating. So once you chew your food into a paste mixed with saliva, it goes down your throat, through your esophagus, into your stomach. So once it hits the stomach, there's supposed to be like that middle school volcano vibe, like the vinegar and baking soda mixture, the fizz. And that fizz is created in your stomach by stomach acid and stomach bile. So your gallbladder produces stomach bile, pushes it into your stomach when you need it. Saliva, I think, helps with that process, but when you don't have the right balance, if you have too much acid and not enough bile, which is common with certain birth control medications because they don't pick which valve to shut off, and that's something you can talk to your doctor about or make your own decision on. But some medications cause your gallbladder to stop producing as much bile. And then that means that you have an acidic stomach, which means when you eat food, your body's gonna go, get it out, and push it out as fast as it can because you're literally burning your insides. When you have too little stomach acid and too much stomach bile, it's very alkaline, so it doesn't actually cause that fizz, the food doesn't break apart, and that causes like small burps after you eat, that causes fermentation and gas because it's just sitting there, it's not moving through anything, it's just decomposing in your stomach, where it's not supposed to be. So, super important to have that balance. Also, what can happen when you have too much bile and not enough stomach acid is your esophageal sphincter doesn't actually close because the level of stomach acid actually determines when that closes. So normally when you eat food, goes through, if you have the right balance of stomach acid, that closes and it keeps everything where it's supposed to be. When that doesn't happen, it can cause heartburn, and then a lot of times people end up taking heartburn medication, which everyone can make their own decision. But a lot of the heartburn medications actually dampen the level of stomach acid even more. So if you're having heartburn because you already have too little stomach acid, and then you take a medication like omeprazole to have less stomach acid, you're furthering your problem and you're actually creating a breeding ground for bacteria because the stomach acid in your stomach also helps kind of kill any extra bacteria that we don't need in our bodies that can't make it through, right? So it protects our intestines. So stomach balanced aside, once you've chewed your food and it goes through your stomach and it's been broken down into this like primordial goo, then it goes through your small intestine. So small as in like circumference, not in size, because it's actually like the bulk of your intestines. So your small intestines have these little villi that are like, they kind of sift through everything that you just did. So as your guts move along, those little arms are reaching out to try and grab any of the nutrients that they need, any of the macronutrients, so protein, carbs, and fat, any of the micronutrients and vitamin and minerals. Anything that your body actually wants to get from food, your small intestine does that work. And it's amazing. Appreciate it. But once it goes through your small intestine, that's when it gets to your large intestine. Yes, it is where poop is made and like the last little bit of it, right? So your large intestine helps control the level of water in whatever's left. So it pulls out water so that way your stool isn't too runny, or it puts water in so that way you can actually poop and not be constipated for too long. So your large intestine helps kind of like mitigate and manage the end point, right? And then the last little bit is where poop is made. And your poop can tell you a lot about what's going on in the inner workings, right? Like if you see food in your poop, which you should be looking at it, that's not ideal. That means that somewhere you have a kink in your system, whether you didn't chew it enough, whether you don't have the stomach acid or bile balance to break it down. Something's there. You're not supposed to poop out whole food aside from corn. So once the water balance and everything has been managed in your large intestine, poop forms. And poop, spoiler, actually isn't most of the food that you eat. It's like 70% dead blood cells because we're machines that are really effing cool and we're constantly producing waste, which isn't just from the food that we eat, blood cells die, and that's what most of your poop is. So I thought that was kind of cool, didn't know that. And then when poop is ready to come out, did you know that you have 2 sphincters? I didn't, and I think it's kind of really interesting, and like humans are so freaking cool if we actually pay attention to all the systems that are working at the same time. But so internal sphincter, external sphincter. This one's like, hey, we gotta poop, and this one literally like assesses your surroundings and like sees the vibe of what you're doing and is like, yeah, no, we can poop right now. Or it's like, there's a bear over there. I don't think it's a good time. We should get out of here. So if you're a shy pooper, try your best to make sure that you go before you go out in the world, because if you continue to tell your body to hold your poop, you can actually change the signals between those 2 sphincters, and then it ends up causing constipation, or it ends up causing straining, which can lead to hemorrhoids, and just kind of a bunch of shitty stuff. Get it? It's a poop joke. Anyway, go when your body needs to, as often as possible. So that has been our simple edition of gut. There's so many other cool things about what actually happens in your inner workings, but I'm going to leave that to the people who specifically study it. And if you're interested in this, I have a lot of books to recommend. My favorite one is Gut by Giulia Enders. Her sister, Jill Enders, does the drawings for it. And I talked about looking at your poop. There's like a whole little hand-drawn chart in here that's wonderful, that talks about what it should be like and what could be possibly going on when you see certain things in the toilet bowl. So, highly recommend that book. It has a lot of really wonderful information in very accessible ways. So like, I don't have a background in internal biology, but I understood everything in this book, and it actually helped my own digestive tract get better because I started learning how to care about it in different ways. Another thing I learned from this book that I thought was really interesting goes into like the detail of like gut bacteria. And gut bacteria is a great thing. That's like, we're just a meat suit powered by bacteria basically. But some of the gut bacteria can hijack brain signals and tell you like, yeah, eat salty, fatty things. That's all we need. And then when that gut bacteria kind of becomes like the majority, then it can actually cause other issues with like other bacteria dying off because they're not getting the nutrients they need. You're only feeding, like, this book refers to them as like the chubby bacteria, which I also thought was kind of cute. So highly recommend that. If you're having gut issues, I know some great naturopaths, or I have some other books if you'd like to deep dive a little bit more yourself. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you think that your guts are a little bit like cooler now, or at least start caring about them and appreciating what they do. Don't be weird about poop. Everyone does it. And have a good day. Let me know if you have any questions.